Back in the summer of 2021, I wanted to design an extremely robust and long-lasting garden box for my good friend Joan. Previously, I had made her some garden boxes out of pine wood, but I wanted to upgrade the new one with cedar because it contains polyoxyphenols.
Gotta have your special safety glasses on so you don't poke yourself with the pencil.
Polyoxyphenols are an extremely useful compound within cedar because they prevent the wood from rotting and being susceptible to water damage over long periods of time. An added benefit of these oils is that they smell really, really good. It's a pleasure to work with cedar, and it's been used by humans for hundreds of years, probably thousands of years, in the storage of clothing and other natural fibers. This is why dressers are commonly built with cedar, because moths do not like to be in close contact with it. Initially, it might sound like a great idea to put this garden box in your closet to protect all of your nice woolen clothing. In my opinion, though, this would be pretty counterproductive because growing tomatoes with grow lights probably wouldn't be very efficient, and I think you would have to spend a lot of money on the electricity to generate enough light. Not to mention the inevitable sting operation, as I'm sure law enforcement would be confused and concerned as to why you are growing plants in your closet. The last major components of this garden box are going to be these 2x6s, which I have ripped in half along their length. I'm very impressed with my ability to cut a straight line without a table saw. As you see here, I say, nice. With all the structural components cut, we can move on to the assembly process, which is very simple in the beginning because I chose this tongue and groove material straight from the hardware store. This is probably the closest I'll get to playing Legos with wood. So satisfying. Anyways, now that we've got those assembled, we can move on to trimming them and making sure they all fit nicely. As with most projects, it's always very fun to somehow incorporate your pocket knife into the workflow. So here, I set the saw a little bit shallower so that I could use my pocket knife to cut the extra off. But on the next one, I got kind of bored of that, so I just set the saw at the right depth and it came off without a fuss.
Solidly done.
Sponsored by Makita with Stanley. Considerable support from NPR.
That was ballad with guitar and circular saw in G major.
In addition to trimming the sides of these panels, we also have to remove the groove that runs along the top. Just make sure you don't also remove somebody's toes in the process. That would be less than ideal. Fantastic. The world has granted us a good omen from this scooter kid, and all of our toes are still intact. With that in mind, we can move on to screwing all of the wood together. Many minutes of screwing later, you can see that the garden box has taken shape. Now we can move on to cutting these supports which will hold the plywood boards and all of the dirt inside. These are 4 6-inch segments and 4 4-inch segments which you can see installed here. I had some material left over from the legs and I thought it would be a good idea to reinforce the 6-inch segments by doubling them up. I also added a decorative 45-degree miter, like this, which you will see me install here. I flip over the garden box for easy access to this section, and I'm going to glue and then subsequently screw all of these boards down to make sure they go in the proper place. I use a chisel here just to get rid of all the excess material and make sure that this goes in perfectly flush with the rest of the boards. I'm probably using too many screws here, but I really don't want to run the risk of this coming off in the future. And there you go. The next step is going to be cutting some wood for the top of the garden box to protect the end grain. Here's the completed garden box with some plywood down there for storage and some black plastic along the interior, which should prolong the life of the cedar. Alright, well we're back at the location where I made that garden box before. I've actually made several garden boxes here, so let's go check it out and see how it's fared after 4 years in the sun with water. Yeah, so here's the first ones I made. You can see they're really water damaged. There's some mold down here. There's really no drainage. These probably won't last more than 5 years total probably before the bottoms fall out. They look nice and they did well, but like, look at this piece of wood. It's just totally cracked. I don't expect that these pine boxes will last much longer. While they do look cool, I really prefer this cedar. I mean, come on, look at it. It still has some wooden color to it. It just has a bit of patina from the oxidation. But check it out, it's super sturdy. It doesn't even move when I shake it at all.
Why does the wood look so much different on that?
This is pine,
Yeah?
and this is cedar and redwood.
Oh.
So it already has rot resistance. It's really hard for the bugs to eat it.
Here you can see how well the bottom of the garden box has fared over these 4 years. I just drilled holes through it, along with poking holes into the black plastic which you saw previously. This provided adequate drainage, and honestly, I don't think this plywood will need to be replaced for many more years, but if it ever does, it's going to be pretty simple to do.
Oh, he's fine. He's fine.
Now the only thing left to do is enjoy the fruits of our labor and hang out in this beautiful garden with these dogs. They love to play frisbee, as you'll see here.
You'll see I have your frisbee. He loves the frisbee. See, he loves the frisbee.
Job well done, everyone. I hope that Joan enjoys her garden box for many years to come.
Cool.